Beneath the monastery eaves, the rain barrel keeps watch through the dark. It stands close to the wall where roof water falls most faithfully, neither out in the yard nor wholly under shelter, but in the narrow place where stone, wood, water, and night meet without dispute. The hour is late or very near dawn. No bell has called yet. The cloister windows are dark. The barrel receives what the roof gives it. One drip, one short run, one patient gathering at a time. The barrel itself is made of staves swollen tight by weather. Iron hoops bind it in 3 dark bands. Rain has deepened the grain around the upper rim, and old overflow has left pale marks lower down where water once slipped over the side in a wetter season. Nothing about it is decorative. It exists because roofs shed water, hands need water, and stone communities survive more easily when the sky can be stored. Above it, the eaves project just far enough to break the falling rain into intervals. Water slides across tile or shingle, finds a low line, then lets go. Sometimes it falls cleanly. Sometimes it catches on moss, rough wood, or the edge of a bent gutter piece and divides itself into smaller drops. Those slight differences shape the sound of the place. One line of dripping is dull and regular. Another is sharper, striking the barrel rim before it reaches the surface below. At night, such sounds become the roomlessness of a monastery's outer edge. There is no busy workshop here, no bargaining, no wagon noise, no clatter of dishes. Only the measured patience of collected rain and the quiet architecture that guides it downward. This is one reason the barrel feels larger than its size. It gathers not only water, but the behavior of the building above it. Monastic houses often depended on systems of water far more modest than the great channels remembered in chronicles. A cistern, a basin, a lead pipe where wealth allowed, a wooden trough where it did not, a barrel at the edge of a roof where clean fall could be caught before it became mud. These solutions were practical rather than grand. They belonged to kitchens, gardens, infirmaries, laundries, and small routines that kept larger devotions possible. The barrel under these eaves has likely served many such routines. Water from it might rinse hands made cold by stone corridors. It might wet a cloth laid over a bench. It might clean a vessel, settle dust, soften a broom, or carry itself into a garden plot in a drier week. Yet none of that labor is active now. The barrel is in its receiving state, the quiet half of usefulness. Its lid is not sealed tight. Perhaps a warped board rests over part of the opening, enough to keep leaves and birds away while still leaving space for the roof water to enter. Perhaps there is no lid at all, only the open black circle of gathered rain reflecting the faintest portion of the sky between the eaves. In either case, the surface below remains mostly still, disturbed only by the intermittent touch of falling drops. When a drop lands near the center, the circle widens and disappears. When a small run reaches the barrel in quicker succession, the surface shivers in a clustered pattern, then smooths itself again. Even in darkness, water shows its work through motion. The stone wall behind the barrel does something similar through stain. It remembers splash and runoff in darker vertical traces that no cloth could fully erase without effort. No one would waste on an outer passage. The wall is cold, but not hostile. It is only old stone holding the night's damp a little longer than wood would. Near the lower courses, a green softness of moss or lichen may gather where splash returns often. Such growth does not make the place wild. It only shows that the monastery edge is not cleanly separate from weather. Rain writes itself on the wall in slow, patient layers, and the wall accepts the writing without resistance. Below the eaves, the flagstones are darker than the cloister walk farther in. Some hold shallow water in the smallest hollows. Some have already drunk their thin film and gone merely dim. Between the stones lie narrow seams of grit, washed clean in places and thickened in others. A broom has likely passed here many times, yet no broom can persuade an outdoor threshold to become fully interior. The stone keeps 1 foot in the weather. This mixture of shelter and exposure gives the barrel its special calm. It belongs to both sides. It stands close enough to the building to receive intention, yet open enough to the sky to remain in conversation with rain. Many useful objects in monastic life lived in such in-between conditions. They were not liturgical, but they sustained the circumstances in which liturgical time could proceed with less friction. They kept daily life from becoming disorderly. At the hour after closing, or before waking, usefulness looks different from action. No one lifts a bucket. No one measures the depth with a stick. No one carries water inward on a shoulder yoke or in a pair of pails. The barrel simply deepens by degrees. In that sense, it resembles a lamp cooling after use, or a pot resting after being scraped clean. It continues to matter while doing almost nothing visible. The eaves above are not flawless. One board has darkened more than the others. Another has pulled slightly away from the line. The join where 2 roof lengths meet catches more water in heavy weather, sending a thicker run over the barrel's near edge. Such imperfections do not mean failure. They mean history. A building that has stood through many seasons teaches its users where to place vessels, how to angle lids, and which storms require earlier attention. Perhaps a short wooden spout has been fixed at some point to guide the best of the runoff. If so, it is plain, stained, and useful rather than elegant. Rainwater needs direction more than beauty. The spout would not appear in a grand inventory, yet it might be among the most quietly valuable things in this outer corner. Without it, much of the clean fall would strike stone and vanish into dirt. With it, the roof becomes a steady giver. The barrel rim bears the marks of repeated contact. A hand has rested there while judging the level. A small vessel has struck it while being filled. A cloth has been rung above it, sending a separate brief rain into the collected water below. The wood has darkened where fingers most often press. It is a kind of touch memory, similar to worn door latches, stair rails, and bench edges elsewhere in the monastery. On one side, a narrow bucket stands upside down on a stone ledge or low bench, drying after its last use. Its handle has left a curved shadow. Beside it may lie a simple cloth, folded once, too damp to put away indoors. These companion objects matter because they show how the barrel belongs to a set of actions without having to perform them now. A water vessel alone would be storage. With bucket and cloth nearby, it becomes part of habit. The habit itself is quiet. Monastic life depended on repeated small movements executed without display. Carrying water was one of them. Waiting for water was another. The barrel is patient enough for both. It receives slowly, and because it receives slowly, it teaches a different pace from that of wells or streams. It is a container shaped by intervals, by weather, by the gentle uncertainty of how much the night will give. Rain at the roofline often sounds fuller than rain in open ground because the building edits it. Tiles collect, edges release, wood redirects, and stone answers. The barrel hears all of this at close range. A single drop from high above seems deliberate when it lands on water held in a fixed circle. It is no grand music, yet it is not nothing. It is an ordinary intelligence of gravity, material, and waiting. In warmer months, the barrel might hold floating pollen, stray petals, or the dust of a busy yard. On this darker, wet night, it likely holds only water, a few small fragments of roof grit, and the reflection of the undersides of the eaves. Its cleanliness is relative, but relative cleanliness was often enough. Water did not need to be abstractly pure to be useful. It needed to be timely, contained and separated from the muddier runoff of open ground. That separation is one of the quiet achievements of medieval building. To guide clean rain away from filthy ruts and into a vessel before boots, beasts, and cartwheels clouded it was no small convenience. It preserved labor later. Water caught here might save a walk. It might spare a well. It might answer the first need of a cold morning before larger work had fully begun. The barrel, then, is a keeper of modest advantage. Its modesty belongs to the whole setting. The monastery edge does not flaunt itself. There is no dramatic tower glow, no crowd of robed figures, no heroic weather. Only a stone wall, a line of eaves, a dark barrel, a patch of wetter ground, and the very slow accumulation of what the roof cannot keep. This smallness is what makes the place sleep safe. The world has already narrowed itself to manageable things. If a draught moves along the cloister threshold nearby, it does not trouble the barrel. If a faint lamp burns far inside, its light does not reach here strongly enough to turn water into ornament. The corner remains low in contrast. It keeps its darkness honestly. Even the wet stone does not shine much. It merely holds a dull sheen wherever the rain has recently crossed it and moved on. There may be a gutter sound deeper in the complex, but here the dominant rhythm is local. Drop on rim, drop in water, thin trickle on stone, quiet pause, another drop. This rhythm is not exact enough to become a clock, but it is steady enough to steady thought. Perhaps that is why barrels, basins, and rooflines often feel larger in memory than in measure. They gather time while performing use. The iron hoops around the barrel have begun to roughen in places. Not every surface can remain dry under eaves. Yet the rust is slight, and the rings still hold their purpose. Wood swells, iron tightens, water enters, and the vessel continues. In this there's a familiar medieval lesson. Durability does not mean untouched perfection. It means materials remaining in service while weather works slowly over them. The ledge above the barrel may host one small drip line that misses the opening entirely. That little loss is accepted. No system catches everything. The stone below bears the proof, in a darker wedge where water has fallen beside the vessel instead of into it. Such near misses are part of the room's honesty. The barrel is efficient enough, not absolute. It serves well without pretending to mastery. Near the doorway into the yard, there may be a second, smaller vessel turned on its side, waiting for a drier day when it can be scrubbed. It does not compete with the barrel. It only shows that water collection was often plural rather than singular. A good household or monastery corner used what it had. A main barrel, a spare bucket, a trough when needed, a cloth to strain leaves, a lid when birds grew curious. The system was built from sufficiency rather than grandeur. By the later part of the night, the water level may rise only by a finger's width. Even that is enough to matter. Small gains are often what sustained ordinary routines. A little more water for washing cloth, a little more for mixing a draught, rinsing a bowl, settling dust, or tending the first quiet tasks before breakfast fires were fully alight. The barrel does not need abundance to justify its place. Its place is justified also by stillness. Nothing in this corner urges speed. The barrel cannot be hurried into filling. The roof gives only what the weather has chosen. This passivity is not weakness. It is alignment. The vessel exists to receive, and in receiving it turns passing rain into stored use. Few transformations are calmer than that. One could imagine a novice passing here before dawn, noticing the sound without needing to look closely. One could imagine an older hand checking the level by touch alone. Yet the people may remain absent from thought, because the objects are enough. The eaves hold their line. The wall bears its damp stain. The bucket dries upside down. The cloth waits on stone. The barrel receives what falls. At times a fuller run descends all at once from the roof edge, as though some higher hollow had finally surrendered its collected weight. Then the barrel answers with a broader stirring, the rim darkens freshly, and a few drops spring onto the nearby stone. After that brief disturbance, everything returns to its measured pattern. The place never becomes violent. Even the fuller moments are only thicker versions of the same calm exchange between roof and vessel. The wooden staves hold together because moisture has taught them to fit one another. In drier weather they might complain with fine gaps. In rain, they grow loyal and close. The same night that darkens the wall and dampens the flagstones also helps the barrel do its work. Such cooperation between material and weather was deeply familiar to medieval life. Good use did not require control over nature so much as an attentive agreement with it. As the sky lightens somewhere beyond the roof, though not yet enough to name morning, the darkness under the eaves softens only a little. The barrel remains mostly black at the top, the wall mostly dark beside it, the flagstones still carrying their diluted mirror of night. Nothing bright arrives suddenly. The place moves by degrees, and those degrees are merciful. Near the base of the wall there may be a narrow runnel scratched long ago to lead stray overflow away from the doorway. It is not a grand channel, only a slight guidance in stone, but it shows how often this corner was observed. People noticed where water pooled, where mud threatened to gather, and where little correction could preserve dryness in the path inward. Medieval utility often looked like that, a small carved answer to a recurring inconvenience. The bucket turned upside down beside the barrel may keep a faint ring where old water dried at a different season. A handle scar crosses its wood or metal, and one side has brightened where repeated lifting polished the surface. Such details remind the mind that stored rain rarely stayed stored for long. It moved into hands, cloths, bowls, herb beds, paving stones, and the first practical moments of morning. The barrel is quiet now only because its usefulness is between tasks. A patch of roof moss above the barrel darkens as it drinks. Then, after a brief pause, it releases what it cannot hold. The delayed dripping changes the rhythm again, creating a second, slower measure beside the first. Under such a roof, the night never becomes silent in a complete way. It becomes patterned. The ear learns the barrel, the rim, the stone, and the spout as separate tones belonging to one patient system. Even the air near the vessel feels sorted. Closer to the wall, it is colder and more mineral. Near the water, it feels faintly softer. At the edge of the cloister opening, it carries the mild movement of the yard beyond. These slight differences do not ask to be named during ordinary life, yet they shape the memory of the place. One remembers not only the barrel itself, but the delicate meeting of damp stone, open night, and held water around it. By first light, someone will eventually decide whether the night's gift was sufficient for the morning's first need. That judgment has not arrived yet. The barrel remains in suspense, gathering a little more, keeping the answer open. Perhaps that is why it feels so restful now. It has no urgency except patience. It does not insist on completion. It accepts addition by small dark increments, and that acceptance gives the whole corner its calm authority. In a drier season, the same barrel would stand almost silent, holding only what had already been gathered. Tonight it is alive in the smallest possible way, which makes its usefulness easier to notice. A vessel that is quietly filling asks for no admiration. Yet it changes the next morning before the morning arrives. It reduces a journey, shortens a delay, and turns weather into stored help. Much of medieval comfort rested on these modest conversions, rather than on anything grander. When the rain finally slackens, a few last drops continue from the roof, long after the sky has already eased. The building keeps giving after the cloud has moved on. That delayed generosity suits the barrel well. It allows the corner to remain active without agitation, receiving the leftover patience of the storm and translating it into something the household or monastery can trust when the first door opens. The barrel also keeps a certain fairness. It receives without choosing who will later draw from it. Kitchen hand, gardener, infirmary helper, or early riser with a cloth all depend on the same stored patience. That shared usefulness makes the object feel even calmer in the dark. So the rain barrel beneath the monastery eaves keeps to a small office. It gathers roof water. It stands between weather and use. It marks the edge where building and rain cooperate. It offers no spectacle. It holds enough. And through the calm, wet hours before fuller light, that quiet sufficiency is almost the whole character of the place.